Hey guys! In this video we will be going over the impact of an import quota. An import quota is a limit on the quantity of imports. And what happens is that the government provides a limited number of licenses to import goods. And people can buy these licenses for the rights to import those goods. And so when this happens, the supply is no longer elastic because the quantity has been limited. And so the supply curve above the world price shifts right by the amount of the quota. But the supply curve below the price, this, will not shift right, because if it did, they'll be losing profits. And the only reason this is reasonable is because these license holders appreciate the fact that the price has risen above the world price. And because this price has increased, it is more profitable to import goods. Well, I mean, as you can see, the price for every good has increased, meaning that the profit has also increased. Now, with this price rise, the domestic demand falls and the domestic supply rises. So the domestic demand, I will write the quantity demand, will move to here because that is the new price. Quantity demanded 1. And then the quantity supplied, which was here, moves to here because the price, I repeat, the price has risen. So producers are more willing to sell their products. So quantity of the suppliers has increased. And now because the price has risen, because price has gone up, the sellers are happy and the buyers are sad. And so let's talk about the changes in the total surplus. So before this quota happened, the consumer surplus, the CS, was above the equilibrium, which was the world price, and below the demand curve. So in this triangle, which means it was A, B, C, D, E prime, E double prime, F, and F. And now the producer surplus was below the equilibrium, this, and above supply. So it was G. Now the license holder surplus, which is closely related to the tariff surplus for the government, is nothing at the moment because there is no, let's say, tax or quota at the moment on the market. So it's not available, none. And then the overall total surplus is A plus B, C, D, E prime, E double prime, F, and G. Now you may be wondering why there is a E prime and E double prime. Well, right here, the supply curve has shifted right by the quota, because it is profitable now for those license holders to import goods because the price has risen. So it cuts E into two spots. So now what is the consumer surplus after this price has risen to the quota price? Well, the consumer surplus is still above the equilibrium and below demand, this triangle. And that is only A and B. So like the tariff before, this is reasonable because the consumers from here on, from this region, the consumers here are less willing and able to buy a product that has a greater price than before. Now what happens to the producer surplus? Below the equilibrium, and above supply. Above supply. So it is C and it is G. I will erase the marks C and G. Now let's continue to the license holder surplus, or if this was a tariff, the government's surplus. So what happens now? The E that was for the government in a tariff is now for the license holder. This is their profits. This is their profits from, I guess, selling these goods at the greater price. So the profit is E prime and E double prime. Like I said before, if this was a tariff and not a quota, this would go to the government. So what is the total surplus? Well, it's consumer surplus plus producer surplus plus the license holder surplus. So A, B, C, E prime, E double prime, and G. So as you can see, there has been a loss of, I guess, a triangle or polygon, which means that some of the surplus has been lost. So let's think about the change. Well, the consumers have lost out on C, D, E prime, E double prime, and F. Now, this is reasonable because when the price rises, when the price has risen, less consumers are willing and able to buy at that higher price. But because those prices have risen, the producers are more willing because, well, greater profits or greater price equals happy suppliers because the profits have increased. So this has gained C. Now license holders, they have gained a profit as well, E prime and E double prime, but the overall loss is minus D and F. So D and F are part of dead weight loss, which means that the gains from trade are not being recognized. Now these dead weight losses could come from multiple places: overproduction, underconsumption, and a third, which could be lobbying. So now let's talk about how this lobbying exists. So back when it was a tariff, back when you're talking about tariffs, the government earns this profit. The government earns this green profit. But now, because they are license holders, they are citizens, individuals, companies, they want to influence the government to allow them to earn greater profits. This means that the fees from this lobbying add to deadweight loss. So DNF could be even larger than the deadweight loss for a tariff. So now let's compare the two. So both the tariff and the quota, both of these raise the domestic price, both of these reduce consumer surplus because the price has risen, and because the price has risen, they raise producer surplus, and they both cause deadweight loss. Now the difference and the reason why tariffs are better than quotas is because of what happens to this profit. What happens to E? In a tariff, it would go to the government. And in a quota, it would go to individuals or companies, the license holders. And the reason a tariff is preferred is because when the profit goes to the government can redistribute this money to improve the overall economy. However, the license holders are a private company and would not use this money to improve society in other ways.